But let's just start with equanimity and do a little equanimity meditation. Okay, so I'll use a few different techniques to try and get it to resonate, and hopefully one of them will stick and work for you, and then we can unpack it. So nice straight back, solid posture. Come back to your physical experience for a moment. And just thinking again, I would like more love, less attachment. And in order to have more love and less attachment, I need equanimity. Without equanimity, I might become tight-fisted or miserly, or feel a deprivation mentality with my love, like I only have a certain amount and then I'll run out. With equanimity, love begets love begets love, and it just expands and expands. Without equanimity, my love becomes conditional, even with the people I already have an established loving relationship with. So just set a very strong motivation, thinking I need equanimity, and with equanimity, may it lead all the way to enlightenment. And then with that strong motivation, shift your focus once again to the breath, allowing surface distractions to settle. And just stay with the breath without push or pull with your thoughts, without agreeing or disagreeing with your thoughts. Just let your thoughts be thoughts, and try to keep your interest, focus, attention very simply and lightly on the breath, riding it in the way a surfer might ride a wave. Having the focus not too tight, not too loose. And now we'll shift to analysis. And so, starting with identifying equanimity in this context, impartial, unbiased goodwill for all sentient beings, without attachment, hatred, or indifference, regardless of rapport and labels, having this goodwill. Just see if you can connect with some experience of that. And see if you can deepen that sense of equanimity, first by remembering equality, that yourself and all sentient beings have a similar drive, wanting happiness, not wanting suffering. This is true of my loved ones. This is true of people I find difficult. This is true of strangers, true of all species. We all want happiness, contentment, peace. We all want to avoid suffering, pain, discontent. Sometimes we get confused because it looks so different person to person. The choices we make are so different. But try to connect with the deep underlying sameness of the drive. All sentient beings are equal in their view. They have innate self-grasping ignorance that is confused about what the self is, that superimposes or adds features that aren't there, assumes an inherent existence when that is not at all the case. All of us do this. And because we have this innate self-grasping ignorance, we cling and get attached to what seems to help the self, and are afraid or angry at what seems to harm the self. And all of our negative choices come from that misunderstanding. Connect with the sameness of we all do this. But we're also the same in terms of potential. We all have the ability to evolve. We have Buddha nature. The nature of our mind is clear and knowing, able to reflect and cognize, like a still mountain lake. Any stains or debris or ripples on the water, like the surface of our mind, these are all extra, adventitious, removable. And we are all the same in having this nature of the mind that has clarity and the ability to cognize. We are all the same in the stains being additional and removable. And then we connect with equanimity by remembering impermanence, the changeability of people and relationships. Sometimes our lack of equanimity is because we feel like some relationships are permanent, therefore stable, reliable, something to depend on. And in one sense, that's true, but in a deeper sense, it is not. Even the healthiest, most sustainable, consistent relationship in our life will end, even if only at death. We are changing moment to moment. The people in our relationships are changing moment to moment. What the relationship means, its significance, changes moment to moment. Our labels change, and the meaning of labels change. What is a friend when we're 5 years old might be different than what is a friend when we're 50. The criteria we use, the expectations we have, reasonable or unreasonable. Even the same person who you've known for decades, the label changes in your mind, or the significance of the label changes in your mind. Sometimes they feel like a stranger. Sometimes they feel like an enemy. Even if your surface label is always, they are my friend. And this is because our experience of closeness or distance changes, and how much we want of each. In all of our relationships, we're continuously regulating distance. I want you more close, more often. I need a little bit more space, a little less frequency. Push and pull. Very rarely does it feel like exactly the perfect balance. And even if we strike that balance, shifts very quickly. A feeling of you are too close, you're too far away. Come back, go away. This is true in all of our relationships. So you're just using logic and your own life experience to prove or disprove this point to yourself. And if it's a point you've already reconciled, feel like you're pulling it to the surface of your mind and reinforcing it, as if making it stick, so your wisdom isn't lost. And then thinking that how often our warmth and our feeling of connection comes from feeling benefited. There is a way to view friends, enemies, and strangers as all beneficial, or otherwise, through thought transformation. So all sentient beings are equal in the sense that you can view them as beneficial. You can also view them as neutral or harmful. Doesn't matter which category you place them in. So take a friend and think, of course they benefit me. I want them close. I feel warmth. I want to benefit them. But what's the whole story? Sometimes you are mutually beneficial, and sometimes you're not. Sometimes with friends, we reinforce and placate and allow and condone behaviors that maybe should be challenged. Sometimes because of our attachment to them, or even because of the closeness, we're afraid to change the dynamic, even when our wisdom increases, even when we want to behave differently. One or the other of us might keep the other stuck. So you're just touching into the fact that friends, of course, seem beneficial, but that is not the whole story. Recognizing that releases attachment. So think of examples how that has been true. Friends are beneficial, but not always. And similarly, enemies are harmful, but not always. Even if they have absolutely no intention to help us, their very problematic behavior can be the very thing that helps us transform, that helps us understand the human condition, that helps us understand our own biases. So much resilience and patience have been developed because of problematic people in our life. Objectively, who's to say who was the most beneficial, the friend or the enemy? The label doesn't actually dictate how much you've been benefited. And neither does their intention. They could intend to help, but actually harm. They could intend to harm and actually help. And it goes without saying that strangers are incredibly beneficial, or could be harmful, or could be neutral. But all of the things we use every day that we're supported by came from the work of strangers. The very seat that we're seated on, the technology that we're using, the food that we eat, the clothes that we're wearing, being directly benefited by the work of strangers. Just allow that fact that you already know, let it touch your heart. And then the deepest way into equanimity is remembering projection. The conceptions of friend, enemy, stranger come from ourselves, not from the side of others. Otherwise, everyone would like or dislike others identically. People's opinions would all be the same. The conceptions of friend, enemy, and stranger do not exist inherently. Otherwise, they would have a natural label before meeting, or the label couldn't change either. You would meet a person, and together with seeing them for the very first time, you would know this is friend, enemy, or stranger in some sort of concrete and obvious way. And even if we have snap decisions about people, we know that things are not so solid as that. If people had a natural label, everyone would see them and think exactly the same things, without any variation or nuance. And so just see if you can think of your own projections, your own labeling process, the way that you've decided who and what people are. And notice the way in which it feels very obvious and concrete, as if people were only one thing. This is the way attachment oversimplifies, tries to make things easy for ourselves. And so we dedicate with the equanimity verse from the Medicine Buddha Puja, thinking all sentient